My Adventures with Superman ends its fantastic first season with a bang as Clark heads home for Thanksgiving, and he's not alone as Jimmy and Lois join him as well, and Lois is bringing her father. Clark, Lois and Jimmy also, before going on break, become fully fledged reporters at the Daily Planet thanks to their work on the various Superman stories they've been writing over the course of the series. And as the episode goes on, we also learn that Jimmy is selling his Flamebird stream to the Daily Planet for millions of dollars, bringing in the more recent part of Jimmy's comic history where he becomes a millionaire and a more important part of the Daily Planet staff. On top of all of that, which is just the first couple of minutes of the episode, Clark is eager to track down the General, knowing after the last encounter the man is good-hearted and needs some help getting out of the situation he's in. All of this culminates with Clark learning that Lois's father is indeed the General, and they have a wonderfully awkward first meeting at the Kent farm in Smallville. It's great to see the Kents again too, since we haven't really seen much of them, and I like that almost immediately Ma Kent can tell she doesn't really like Sam and doesn't like the vibe she gives off. Sam also begins honing in on Clark himself, realizing that he might have seen this man before but can't really place where. I absolutely love Pa's little bit of wisdom for this about enemies, telling his son that he would always turn an enemy into a friend. It's such a simple culmination of one of the core tenets of who Superman is and what his goals are as a hero. And it's also just great seeing a helpful, kind Pa Kent in media again. And also one who's really obsessed with his turkey over Christmas. That is an extremely relatable thing with the father of the house being the one in charge of the turkey and some of the food and always getting right into it, and that was super relatable to me. So during the family's Thanksgiving get-together, Clark also learns of the orb device that Lois got from the League of Lois Lanes, along with the kryptonite that's inside of it, which Clark is exposed to for the very first time, and which sets off a chain reaction and causes the ship that brought him and that is buried out in the Smallville field to unearth itself and activate and continue its invasion of Earth. The way kryptonite gets used this episode is quite interesting, and the effect it has on Superman and the Kryptonian robots is pretty cool, since it's not just some form of invisible radiation poisoning, but it also begins to crystallize the person it's infecting, slowly turning them into a green crystal. It's a pretty cool new effect and helps give the crystal a bit more of a visual effect on the hero, rather than him just kind of falling over sick and there just being some sort of sound effect to help signpost that something is going wrong. Clark of course tries to stop the ship and confronts his father, who he thinks is the one behind this, but since he can't speak Kryptonian, he doesn't know Jor-El isn't and is actually the one trying to help him. Jor-El also begins slowly learning English as well, and that's quite neat, but also it's seemingly for nothing as he dies yet again, or at least his hologram is gone as he helps Clark get to the ship and get the kryptonite onto the ship's reactor in order to crystallize it and destroy it for good. There's a fantastic sequence which gives Superman his original origins of being rocketed back to Earth as Jor-El seals his son in a capsule and blasts him off from the exploding ship to get him away from the radiation, telling his son to live again. It's so good to have a Superman show and a piece of Superman media that changes so much about the character, from his origin to those around him to how his villains work and where they come from, yet still adhere to his core characteristics and respect what has come before by incorporating familiar visuals and key moments from the comics and from his history back into the story in some way or another. If you wanted to change Superman or kind of modify his origins and sort of update him, this is how you would go about doing it. Of course, Superman saves the day and Lois gets a great moment with her father and helps further convince him that Superman is not the threat he thinks he is. Their relationship really intrigues me, since in past iterations, while they've been cold to one another, they are still rather on good terms, and there's often many interactions with them meeting each other and seeing each other, and Sam doesn't really condone what his daughter does for work, thinks she could do something better and everything, but there's never really something like this where Sam is almost an estranged father, caring more about what happened on Zero Day than what is happening with his daughter and what is happening in her life. Even never reading any of her articles, just kind of disregarding them because they're about Superman and because she's a reporter when she can do so much more with her life. I'm super happy the show is getting a second season to explore more of Lois's relationship with her father, as well as the episode ends with a teaser for the next villain, which is BRAINIAC, who has a cool new design that looks very similar to something out of Destiny, or maybe like a Zepho from Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We find that he's the one behind the invading force, or his army was going to be the one invading Earth, and his plans being thwarted on Earth put Earth in his crosshairs now. He's very intrigued with this planet now. We also learn that he's working with another Kryptonian, one who is voiced by a woman with a heavy modulation to disguise that it is indeed a woman, and it's also to feed into the red herring they're trying to set up with this character, since they want you to believe that it's Zod because she delivers that classic Zod line, the kneel before Zod line. But she shares the same House of L symbol with Clark, so I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out to be Lara, his mother, since we haven't seen anything of her and usually she plays a role in Superman's life somewhere. This also could just be the show's version of Supergirl, who maybe got captured by Brainiac when she left Krypton or something and he's brainwashed her. Either way, I'm excited to see what's to come for season 2, since with a lot of the core backstory and foundations all laid out, we really can go anywhere. My Adventures with Superman ended its freshman series with another fantastic big episode which ties off a lot of plot threads but also opens a whole new can of worms for Clark, Lois and Jimmy to deal with next season. I'm going to give this episode a 10 out of 10.